Welcome, everyone. My name is Julia Toothaker, and I am the career coach and strategist behind Ride the Tide Collective, the podcast, and the company. This is a career-focused podcast that helps ambitious professionals strategize and take action to control their career in a way that aligns with their personality and their values. This season, I am embracing the collective part of my company name, and I have invited various coaches and experts on to talk about certain topics that impact career development and career decisions. And this episode is actually, I think, going to be one of my favorites. And I might say that for every episode, but I feel like this one is such a common issue and thing that I hear from clients, and I know some of my coach friends hear from their clients as well. And we are going to be talking about relationships and communication, and specifically the impact that that can have within your career. And if you've been around the podcast for a while, you know that I talk openly about my relationship with my husband and how we support each other, not only in life, but in our careers and what we've done and how much he's supported me. So this is a topic that I am very passionate about because I want people to have these open conversations that my husband and I have gotten to a place where we are able to have, and we are able to support each other. So I am so excited to have on relationship expert, Dr. Heather Browne, and she has worked with thousands of individuals and couples in psychotherapy. So you heard me say she is a doctor, she is licensed MFT, and I love that. I love that we can bring on experts because I don't know about you, Dr. Browne, but the coaching space right now is a little wonky in terms of, credentials and things like that. And so I love having somebody on who is actually licensed to talk about relationships, who works with people in a professional capacity. And just to give you a little idea of her background, she went to UC Santa Barbara for her undergrad, and then Riacon College for her MA in clinical psychology and her PsyD in clinical psychology. So we are educated, and I love that. And she has been doing this for, I think, close to 30 years now is what it was looking like. And I love that level of knowledge that we're going to bring to this episode. Along with her knowledge, she has been everywhere, okay? She's been on the news in Southern California. She has been published in a lot of different publications, and she is an active writer for different MFT blogs and things like that. So, oh my gosh, Dr. Browne, I am so excited to have you here. Thank you so much for being on the podcast and coming on to talk about this topic.
Oh, I am honored to be here, and it's a wonderful opportunity for me to be able to speak to people outside of the office in this way. So I'm really excited about that too. So thank you.
Yes. Okay. We're going to kick it off because I feel like this is going to be a hot topic for a lot of people. But I want to know, what do you think the biggest challenge is for couples when it comes to communication? And I'm going to say communication specifically around career, if you can speak to that.
Sure. Not really having a good grasp of how to make it flow together and not having a good understanding of what it really means. You can say, I want to go and become a lawyer, and your partner's going to say, that's great. But when you really get down to how is our life going to change because of that? And how do we work together through that change and stay in a place of supporting each other? That's where it gets hard. So the concept behind it is great, but how do you actually lay it in day to day and stay on that path and that journey? That's where we all get a little bit messy. And that's where the real work is. How do I interact with you today? How do I come through for you today? How do we stay on top of everything? Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I will relate this back to my husband and I, because we've had different points within our relationship where we have had to have that conversation of, is this a good choice? Does it make sense for us to do it? All these different things. And I know at one point I had an opportunity. It was a big opportunity, but the commute, this is when I was living in Southern California. So if y'all are listening from Southern California, you know what I'm talking about. the commute was going to be absolutely insane, and it would change our way of life. It would change, what we were trying to do. And we were also wanting to have a kid at that time. And so I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. And my husband was so supportive. He was like, yeah, go do it, whatever. And I was like, I don't think it's a good idea. Like, I think it's going to end up, changing our dynamic and all of that. The irony to that is probably about a year after that decision, my husband had an opportunity to work in LA, and we did not live in LA. And so he had a similar commute option, but the opportunity was so good for his field that we agreed to do it. And I'm going to tell you the impact that that had on our relationship. We did end up having a kid, and he wasn't around for a lot of the day. He was driving and commuting and all of that. And it had such an impact on how we navigated through our relationship together, and as parents, as new parents as well. So I so appreciate you saying that, because if you're not having those open conversations, it could be a disaster.
It can, and it changes because sometimes the workload will be heavier. Sometimes traffic
Mhm.
is heavier. When COVID hit, it was easy to drive around on the freeway because
Yep.
no one was on the road. Now we're back to normal traffic. And
Right.
so your health, what's going on
Oh,
with your child, what's going on
yes.
within your family, what's going on with the cost of gas. There's a
Hmm.
lot of things you've got to look into big picture wise of, well, how is this going to play out and
Right.
how will this impact us? I lived in Orange County and commuted to LA for a while. And,
Mm.
I would leave at 5:45 in the morning because it would take an hour. If I left
Yes.
at 6:15, it would take 2.5.
Yes. That was exactly my husband's experience. 5 minutes meant the difference of a half hour to get there or
It was
not. Yes.
crazy. It was crazy. And
Yeah.
then coming in the rain, it would be 3 hours to get home. And
Oh,
so you have to look at that. I have a client and they live in Orange County and they work in San Diego.
oh,
And I think,
oh
dear
man.
God, but for them financially, right now, it's somewhat worth it. But you're
Hmm.
right that he's not around for the child except for on the
Hmm.
weekends.
Right.
And so that makes a difference. And so you've got to look at all those little parameters when you're
Hmm.
deciding, is this really the best choice? And then it's important to honor that.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what are your thoughts? I'm going to shift gears just a little bit. And this is some of my personal experience, but I have a lot of clients that fall into this as well. What is your experience with high achievers in relationships? Because I feel like the clients I've had who are high achievers, usually women, I'm going to be totally honest, um, they fight so much with, I want to have this career, I want to do this thing, I'm an ambitious person, but there's this societal expectation of, I need to be a certain kind of wife, I need to be a certain kind of mom, I need to show up a certain way, and if I can't do that, now I've failed at everything, and kind of that pressure. Like, what are your thoughts on that? What do you see in your line of work?
Well, I think we create a very interesting challenge for ourselves because if you go for what people would think of as, let's say, there's no such word as typical, but let's say typical wife and mom, you don't think of super achiever. You
Mm,
don't because you think she's going to be the school mom or the class mom. She's going to be at the games.
yeah.
She's going to be making meatloaf. And so we create this very bizarre challenge, which is if career is important to you, then there's some things that are not going to be able to happen that would have if that wasn't your number one priority. And so there's the place of being able to realize you can't be everything. You can't
Mhm.
be the CFO, the class mom, the team mom, have the beautiful house and the killer body. Like it doesn't, there's not room in a day for all of that. So
Right.
it's important to look at, okay, so since I really do want this career, I need to realize that this will impact my family, but also in positive ways. I'm going to be showing my kids that what a woman and a mom can achieve.
Mhm.
But what is taking away from time that's valuable? And there might be things that you choose to do like dry cleaning or ordering food in,
Mhm.
or a nanny, or a housekeeper.
Right.
There's ways that you might take some of the places that are time that is not your most effective, efficient, and use it in different ways. I have a VA, only a couple hours a week, but she helps me with my course programs, and she helps me with
Mhm.
my email, putting it together. And she does some of the things that I could do, but
Mhm.
time-wise, it's much wiser for me to hire
Right.
her and have her do it because that's her expertise.
Right.
She'll tell me like my strategy of what's going on. I'm like, okay. But instead of taking a year to learn how to do that, it's much wiser for me to hire someone who already knows it. So
Right.
there's the place of what's the gain that I get, and then how do we work it out where that role is still covered?
Mhm.
But we choose to beat ourselves up. We
Right.
we choose to put ourselves down, and that's just so sad. If you're going to choose to be a career woman, then it's important you're proud of that,
Right.
and that you let that be part of what you bring to your children.
Right. Right.
And this is a truth that so many people don't realize. It's quality time.
Mhm.
Now you do want to spend time with your children, of course, like
Of
you do
course.
with your spouse, but quality time is so much more important than quantity. There was one day with my son and he wanted to watch a movie with me. And so I said to him in the morning, "Great, let me know what time." It was a Sunday. I said, "We've got all day long." And brought him lunch and said, "Want to watch it now?" "No, soon." "Okay." "Before dinner?" "No." Like, "Okay, well, we can after dinner." "No." I came to him about, I don't know, 7:30 at night, and I said, "Honey, I'm gonna go to bed at 10. So if we're gonna watch this movie, we need to start at 8." Didn't happen. So at 9:45, I came to his room and I said, "I'm getting ready for bed." He goes, "Well, I thought we were watching a movie." And I said, "We've had all day." And I said, "And I'm not doing this again. I gave
Mhm.
you an entire day and I had almost no time with you."
Right.
He got quantity, but
Right.
for me, it was lousy quality. It would have been so
Oh
much
my
better if I'd
gosh.
gone off to work that day and he said, 5 o'clock, I'll be here at 4:45, babe. We'll have an
Right.
awesome time. Cuddled up, had popcorn, watched a great movie, gone back to the office, and then he played with his friends on Xbox. That
Right.
would have been better for both of us.
Right.
So there's a place to realize how you utilize your time
Mhm.
is really the most important.
Right. So I'll tell you something we actually just implemented this year because we were trying to prioritize family time, and it wasn't happening the way that we wanted it to, right? Like the quality time versus the quantity time. And we actually calendared time into the week to play
100%.
games with each other. My son is 5, so, lots of
100%.
games and all that. And I'm going to tell you, we've just been doing it a couple of weeks. It is it is a game changer because for me, and I'm the high achiever in our relationship and in the family, probably, to be honest. And I'm constantly like, what could I be doing? What could I be doing? There's always something to be done. But if it's calendared in there and I know that for that hour or two, however long we decide, that's what my focus is. Oh man, my attention to that is completely different. And I had to be honest with myself and go, it's okay to plan this time, because at the end of the day, it's better for everyone if it's worked in to the schedule, because it's better for you to plan it and show up than think that you're going to do it on a whim and never do it and then continue to beat yourself up about it.
Well, and isn't it weird that we think scheduling is bad? Like, "Oh, you had to schedule it."
Right.
Why choose that? Why not say, "Oh, I'm totally gonna schedule it." When COVID hit, I wanted to make certain I got exercise, and one of my best friends in the world said, "Do you want a bike ride?" I said, "Yes." She has been in my phone since the beginning of COVID for 2 bike rides a week, and it
Mm.
it ends on no date. So, for the rest of my life, it's in my phone till I die. And that is the first priority that's even in my life
Mhm.
right now because she's asked for that. And so we go. Now,
Right.
some couples are going to ruffle, hear me out. Do the same with sex. If you have ones,
Yes.
choose a night, and it doesn't have to, I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna be a making love night. It might be
Mhm.
a quick fun night, but
Right.
choose a night, a day, a morning that you know. For women, then you know when you're thinking about it.
Right.
For a lot of women,
Right.
that's really important. And then don't
Yes.
let anything get in the way. My kids had, they had an Awana group they went to on Wednesday nights, and it was an hour and 45-minute break. And so I said to my husband, "Do you want that to be our quickie night?" I dropped the kids off. I'd say I'm rushing home, take a shower. I'd go home, we'd play, we'd have fun. I'd go pick up the kids. We never did anything other than spent time together on those
Yeah.
Wednesday nights. Now, on the weekend, we could have some lovely time, but it
Mhm.
meant every week we were having sex.
Right.
And
Right.
so many of my clients go, "Oh, but you have to schedule it." I'm like, "Okay, let me ask you this. Which sounds better to you? Don't schedule it and see if you just happen to both feel like it and it happens to work out. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Or know that every single week you're making your relationship and your sexual intimacy a priority. Which
Right.
sounds better?" And they're like,
Right.
"Yeah." So it's our choice to decide, is scheduling bad or is
Right.
scheduling good? I just
Right.
chose, just look at it as a priority. It was
Right.
important to me.
Yeah.
Like I don't show up at the dentist when I feel like I should have my teeth cleaned. I
Right.
have an appointment.
Yes.
Make
Okay.
sense?
I love this because I think depending on your personality will depend on whether or not you gravitate towards scheduling or not, right? And
High
so
achiever. High
yeah, and
achiever scheduled.
right. And so many high achievers, it's like if you don't put it in the calendar, I have to be able to switch. My brain has to be able to switch to the thing that's scheduled, or it's not going to switch. And my husband and I dealt with this for a really long time where I was like, I need like a heads up. Like you can't just come to me at 8 o'clock and be like, hey, I'm gonna be like, no, like my mind is not there at all. And I so appreciate this conversation because one of the things that we put in place, we're pretty scheduled, but there's also an understanding of the things that are non-negotiables and then the things that can be shifted around if they need to be. And we just have to make sure that we prioritize them if they do get shifted in to a new spot because of something. And so I think that when we're talking about communication, making sure that you are having that communication if something changes or something has to shift for that time, that you're open about it.
Well, and to really speak into what your partner means to you and what that time means to you.
Mhm.
I think we're all pretty good at knowing that things get shifted around a lot,
Right.
but we still want to make certain that our partner knows that they're the priority.
Yeah.
"Honey, I'm so sorry that I called in for a work meeting. I would much prefer to be home with you. Since I really can't do it on Tuesday now, when are you most available? Because I want to come through for you."
Right.
Versus, "Sorry, sorry." We need to know we're important.
Yes.
And couples, I think most of them are pretty bad at that. In the beginning, we're great. "Oh my gosh, like you called. Oh my gosh, you thought to call me. Thank you."
Mhm.
And then after
Mhm.
you've been together for 6 months, all of a sudden you've got these huge expectations. You've got these huge expectations upon each other, and you're not talking about it. And then you're getting resentful. And so if you keep speaking into that place of, "You're important to me, we're important as a
Mhm.
team, as a partnership, and how do we walk this journey together as best as possible?" It's amazing to me how little connection couples actually have after they've been
Mm.
together for a long time. Now, granted, I am working with couples who know they have a challenge. So if I was
Right.
out in the world seeing everybody, I'd probably have a little bit of a different view. So, listeners, I need to own that truth. However, I think it is largely global. We
Mhm.
lose connection. I think
Mhm.
COVID has shown us that hugely, but we lose connection. We lose being aware of what's important to our partner, or
Mhm.
caring about that. And I
Yeah.
think that's a shame.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be that way.
I'll tell you, I'm not going to go into the whole story, but my husband and I had a big shift in our life that moved us to Utah. Listeners of the show know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to, I feel like I rehash it in every episode. I don't want to do that. But part of that shift was we were not connected well. And I think we thought that we had a good relationship, and it was really just because nothing happened. We were just going along, and very easy, and just things were happening, but nothing was intentional. There weren't really great, deep conversations like we used to have, because we were just tired. We were just tired from life, from the child, from the commute, from these things. And we would talk, but it wasn't this like deep connection type talk. It was just, oh, what'd you do today? What happened here? What about this thing? What's the baby doing? Whatever. And I will say, now that we have intentionally shifted our thinking and what we want in our relationship, our conversations have completely changed to be deeper, to be more intentional around who we are as individuals, but then who we are as a couple as well. And that changes like your intimacy level. It changes just how you have empathy for your partner and how you respond and communicate and work together. And it's been eye-opening for us the last couple of years. And COVID was a big catalyst for that as well.
Well, think about what you're saying. It's so true. When I live a mindful, a life of presence, a life of intentionality, you can exist.
Mm-hmm.
And we do oftentimes, and we just go on automatic pilot, and we're just here, and it's just another day, and ho hum, ho hum. But when you think about it, today is the only today you will ever have. And that can either mean very little to you, or it can be a great thing because you want life over, or it can be precious.
Right.
And it depends how you choose to look at your life. And I don't think I think it'd be very hard to live constantly, intentionally all the time. And some
Of
things, like, I don't
course.
need to intentionally pick up a dog poop. I can just pick up a dog poop.
Right.
But there is a place of, at the end of my day, have I learned something? Have I
Mhm.
helped something? Have I changed? Or has another day just passed? Now, part of this is that I'm 59, so I'm probably older than a lot of your listeners. I'm also a widow, and my kids are grown, and my family has passed on. So I'm largely here living life with a lot of love and support around me, but not in my home.
Mm.
Um, and so that makes me think a little bit more so of the impact. And as you
Mhm.
get closer to the end of your life, I think you think more so about, how have I used this time?
Right.
And it's a beautiful question.
Mhm.
Like, am I making my life purposeful? Am I finding value?
Right.
Am I choosing to honor what I feel I'm here for?
Right.
And do I do it with love? Do I do it with joy? Do I do it with growth? Do I take challenges as an opportunity? Or do I let the days just kind of pass by? And I've done it. I've had days where I think, oh God, just get today over. I just want today done. But then you think about it the next day and you think, wow, what if that was my last day?
Right.
Yikes. And for a
Yeah.
lot of, for some people today is going to be the last day they're alive. It's a
Right.
wild thought.
Right.
Yeah.
I will tell you, I have a lot of clients who go through exactly what you're talking about. So big existential life crisis. Some of it brought on from the pandemic, seen a lot of that. Some brought on by death. I know that's what it was for me. My parents passed away very closely together. And it changes where you put your energy and what you want to focus on. Right. And I think when you're in a relationship, the struggle that I have seen with people is you've got one partner who is going through it. They are really questioning all these things about themselves. And then you have the other partner that's like stable and like, what is happening right now? Like, what are we doing? I know that that's a very common dynamic, at least that I'm seeing. What advice do you have for a couple who might be in that, whether it's, either party, like what is your advice for them?
Well, I hope this will honor your listeners. To me, this is incredibly helpful. So when you think of a chick and it's in its little egg and it's eating up whatever's in the little egg to live on, and it's gonna die if it doesn't break out of that shell. It cracks through and it has to survive, or, the butterfly analogy. So when you in your life hit a place that's it's massive growing pains, feels like everything's falling apart, everything's awful, you're totally depressed, you just feel like you're lost and confused. What I say to myself is, okay, okay, I'm in growing pains. Growing pains hurt. Growing pains hurt, but there's a growth spurt that wants to go on because my life no longer wants to stay where my life is. I need to expand
Mhm.
bigger than this. And expanding bigger hurts. Bones stretching, tendons pulling, cracking out of an egg hurts. So this growth spurt is going to launch me beyond this. It doesn't take away the suffering. It doesn't take away the struggle. It doesn't take away the pain, but it reminds you the reason for this is important. And therefore, I got to power through this so I can come to the other side and I will grow bigger than this. And if you
Mhm.
think about the times in your life where you've had your existential crises, maybe you've had one, maybe you've had a couple, and it just feels like, why the hell am I even doing this? This is such a pointless, wasteful period of time. Like, I hate all of this. When you move out of that, there always is a different awareness.
Mhm.
So, growth spurts and growing pains are really important. Now, what in relationship, someone's gotta hold down the fort. And the person who's going through the growing pains, I'm sorry, but they're not gonna be able to do it, and they're not gonna want to. So, as much as possible, strong person who's feeling solid and secure, make certain you keep things afloat and know your partner is going to come through with more insight and more awareness. And I would speak into that. I'd say,
Yeah.
like, I know you got to figure out what you're going to do. I'm so sorry this is so hard for you, but I know you're going to come through this, and in the meantime, I'll do the laundry and I'll pick up the kids, and if we need to get you into therapy, or let's call your coach, or maybe you need to take 2 days with a girlfriend, speak into them finding what it is. The challenge I see is when the person who's struggling and then the partner who's not gets pissed off, angry, sad, mad at the one
Yes.
who's struggling, and
Yes.
now everyone's hopeless.
Right.
And then you're going down,
Right.
going down.
Yes.
They say something in therapy which is so profound, which is you cannot help someone unless you see that they can be better than they are. So I have to believe in my clients more than they believe in themselves. If I don't do that, take away my license, because at that point I am no good to anyone.
Yeah.
So I have to be able to see them beyond where they are. I have to see options other than, and that's what I am to bring. You've done everything you've known how to do to this point. So proud of you. Okay, I've got some ideas beyond what you know. Let's see which one of these serve you, honor you, fit you. But when one partner is crashing, the other one really needs to take care of themselves and
Mhm.
do everything they can to keep things afloat until the other one can step back in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh
And no, they're not
man.
wanting to. None of us want to go into that place.
Right.
Depression's hell. I mean, it's just
Right.
awful. And
Right.
and and losing a job, or losing your salary, or losing your position, or being passed over, being transferred to the office you don't want to go to. All of that stuff is just bad. But it
Mhm.
is part of what happens
Right.
when you're not in control of everything in the company you work with. So there's a place of knowing, okay, like, how are we going to make this work?
Right.
And there's the place of looking at anything as an opportunity to learn something beyond what you know.
Right. Right.
That
Oh
gets
my
into a
gosh.
lot.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I just that the open communication between you and your partner to say, I'm not doing well right now. For me as a high achiever, it is so hard for me to utter those words to my husband. But in the
I'm
last
gonna
couple
help you.
days,
I'm gonna help you. Let it not be, because what you're really saying is, "I so want this to be better. I so want to feel better. I
Mhm,
so want us to be better." So if we look at it from the sense of, I don't feel I'm strong enough, I don't feel I'm good enough, I don't feel I'm capable enough. Oh, all our mouths are zipped. We're not going to say that. But
right.
if you turn it to the other side, there's more here. I haven't
Mhm,
quite gotten to where I am to be here. And we got to figure this out because that's where I'm going.
right.
Then your partner can learn how to support and encourage you. Maybe not fix it. That might be
Right.
completely up to you, but support you and encourage you. You get married to have someone to partner you in life.
Mhm,
Not just and truly, we don't really I mean, if you think about it, yeah, we get married to have someone to celebrate with us. We do, for sure, and that's an awesome part of partnership, but, kind of everyone will do that. I put
yeah.
on Facebook that, I just got published, and a whole bunch of people are super happy for me, but if I say, like, I wanna crawl into a hole and die, I'm not gonna get the same response. I'm gonna go,
Right,
"Oh, I'm sorry." Or, a couple of people are gonna reach out, but not that many.
right,
Part of the reason we really go into partnership is for those tough times. Will you
right,
help me when I can't really do it as well on my own?
right.
Or I am really lost and confused and I don't know what to do. Will you partner me in those tough times? And can I partner you in those tough times?
Mhm.
That's where we grow. We
Well,
celebrate happy. You grow through the crud.
yeah, and I'll tell you, removing myself from toxic situations, gave me the space to be able to say, "I need help here." This isn't this is something's going on. This isn't working out. And so when we talk about career and the impact that our career can have on our life and our life can have on our career, it's are you so bogged down by what's happening in your day-to-day job that you're not able to show up, and when I look back on who I was like probably 6 or 7 years ago, that person could not articulate anything because I was so bogged down by all of these negative thoughts and what was going on. And I was trying to interpret everything and all these things going on. Once, the death of my parents and all that shifted, it was almost this, you know, like everything opened up
Mm.
and this like fog was lifted, and it was like, oh, how have I been living? Like, I cannot live like this anymore, and I brought my husband along who was very reluctant. He's like, whoa, whoa, we got lots of changes happening. What are you doing? And I'm like, we are growing. We are going to get past this version of ourselves that we were, because that version of ourselves was slowly dying and we didn't even realize it. And now I look at our communication, both of us, because both of us are very like introvert, internal, we're processing everything internally. And so we almost have to force ourselves to talk to each other and externally process. But we've gotten to that point where we do that now. And oh my gosh, I feel like my mental health and his mental health is in the best place that it's been because we
Hallelujah.
finally broke through and we're
Mhm.
able to go, oh, I think this maybe is a thing that we need to talk about, and we're learning all these new things about each other because our self awareness is just on another level. And I'm so thankful that we've gotten to that point. So I hope that the people who are listening and feel like almost hopeless in what's going on, it's like, no, there's hope. But like you said, it's growing pains and it took us years to get to this place. This was not like a month, or even 6 months. This was years of us trying to peel back things and learn things about ourselves to be able to get to this point. And it's not perfect, but it's better
There's
than it
no such
was.
thing. There's no such thing as
No.
perfect. As soon as you say something's perfect, the next person's gonna say, "Let me do it better." And
Right.
it's subjective too. Like, I could say
Absolutely.
Rocky Road ice cream with almonds is perfect.
And
You
I
might
think
say
that's
vanilla.
disgusting.
See, there you go. And to me, that's my favorite. Baskin Robbins Rocky Road ice cream with almonds, my favorite. And to you, it's disgusting. So
Yeah.
there you go. There's also the place of looking at, and I think this is where for ourselves and then certainly for our relationships, I think for everything. If you're approaching the world in a sense of feeling you are being judged, or it's about judgment, or you're judging yourself, you're going to be very hesitant to being
Absolutely.
honest. You'll be very hesitant to asking for hope, for asking for help because you're fearful of how you're going to be viewed or what that means of you. And the more you can lay that down and say, I'm in a relationship for support, I'm
Mhm.
in a relationship for growth, I'm in a relationship for love, then it's not as hard. I've done something my whole life. I did it with Tad, that's my late husband, and my kids, which is every single day. I would say, is there anything I can do or say for you to know how much I love you?
Mm.
Is there anything you need from me right now? I end every session saying, is there anything else that you need from me? And the
Mhm.
reason behind that is I take relationships clearly very significantly in my life. And my role in them to me is very important. And so I want to make certain I've come through in the way that I can for those that I'm with. In doing that, it opens up the door to really have some important conversations.
Mhm.
And so I would say every single month to my family, where have I loved you really well? And then I would keep doing that. And then I'd say, where am I blowing it?
Right.
And wherever they told me I was blowing it, I would work on it. And I'd tell them, this might be really hard for me,
Mhm.
but because it's important to you, I will. I will. I don't know how good I'll be at it, but I will. And then everyone in my family saw that I was trying in a way to support them and to love them because I cared.
Right.
Changes everything.
Oh, I love
Change
that.
changes everything because we're not perfect. We're gonna make a ton of mistakes. What we're really asking is, do you care?
Mhm.
That's really what we're asking our whole life. Do you care? Do you love me? Am I important? Will you still be here? Uh, So one of the things that I found out very early with my family was their love languages. And my daughter was all of my kids were and Ted were physical touch. My daughter has this huge, glorious mane, like this lion mane, and she loves having it stroked. I'm not really much into having my hair stroked, so I could care less if someone does it to me, but she loves it. So I would do it for like truly 20 minutes, 2 hours. Whenever I do it, she'd say 2 more minutes. One time I done it for 2 hours and 20 minutes and I was stopping and she said, 2 more minutes. I'm like, oh my gosh. She said to me a year ago, Mommy, I want to share something with you, but I don't want to hurt you. And I said, okay, what is it, love? And she said, when you stroke my hair, I said, yeah, because I do that every single time we're together. She said, I don't want you to be mad. I'm like, well, when am I mad, honey? She's like, well, I know you're not, but like, I don't want you to be upset. I'm like, oh, please just tell me what it is you want to tell me. She goes, you're giving me dreadlocks.
Oh no.
I said, what? She goes, the way you do it, you like, and she's got this thick, thick hair. She's giving, and I'm like, seriously? I have been stroking your head for 25 years, trying to love you in the way you want to be loved.
Mhm.
And you haven't told me that I'm giving you dreadlocks? And she said, no. And I said, why? And she said, I didn't want you to be upset. I said, okay, sweetheart, let's go big picture. I'm trying to love you in the very best way that I know how, and I'm not coming through.
Mhm.
And you're not going to tell me how to do it better. So you're not going to let yourself receive the depth of love that I could if I knew what to do. And you're letting me believe I'm really loving you wonderfully. What's going on in our relationship? And she goes, Mom, like that's crazy. I'm like, why won't you let me really love you in the way you want to be loved? She's like, could we start right now? I'm like, yes. But my daughter and I have an incredible relationship, and I had to laugh at that. And I thought, wow, even though we've had this conversation a gazillion times, this is the first time she shared that with me. So
Right.
just know, sometimes we're fearful, we don't want to hurt someone's feelings, and we're not thinking of the bigger place, which is, am I really allowing this person to love me?
Right.
And am I asking for love in the way that I really could receive it deeply?
Yep.
Do we have that kind of relationship that I can say, I really don't like ketchup on my French fries. I'm so glad you do, but I really don't. So could mine not have ketchup? Because I'd like them so much more. It's so strange that we think it's not okay to ask for what we would really want. Now, we
Mhm.
might not get it, but why would we not ask? Why would we not
Right.
say, this is what I would like most? I need to ask you, okay, you hate Rocky Road ice cream. Okay, so like that's all I have in my freezer. So what do I buy for you? I need to have that conversation versus this will be fine. She'll eat Rocky Road.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we don't do that. And I think it's
So
such a
true.
shame because then you
Yeah.
can really learn how to love your partner. And I used to say this to Ted. I remember one time we were going on a date and I said, tell me like how you want my hair and my makeup to be. He goes, I'm a guy. Why would I tell you that? And I said, because you're looking at me all night long.
Mhm.
I'm not looking at me. It doesn't matter how I think I look. It
Yeah.
matters what you're looking at. Do you like
Right.
natural? You want purple, brown, red? Like, what do you want? He said, no woman has ever asked me this. And I'm like, you've gone out with the wrong women. Like, I want to look beautiful for you. How do you see me
Right.
beautiful?
Right. I think what's really important in that too, because I could see some women being like, oh no, that's not my partner's choice. That's my choice. And I'm going to do
I asked.
whatever I feel.
I asked.
Right. And I think that's the difference is you can be both. You can be both. And I think that there's a narrative around like you can only be this or you can only be that. And it's not true. Like I'm the type of person where I have a lot of like sensory things. So there are certain things that I won't do because I don't like it. And my husband knows that. But I'm secure enough in myself to be like, hey, what would you like me to wear tonight? Or do you want me to wear my hair down? Does that matter to you? But I'm also secure enough to say, I cannot handle my hair right now and it's going up in a ponytail because it's too much for me. And it's understanding that about yourself, your partner, your relationship, and being secure enough to have that conversation openly without judgment.
Well, and it's knowing I didn't ask him, how am I the most beautiful in the world? So here on out, I will listen to only what you say, husband, and
Right.
throw out any makeup that you do not say. No, I just wanted to know what he liked best. I have a dress, I still have it, that my husband did not like. And I had it, I've literally had this dress for 30 years. Don't know how it still stays together, but it does. He didn't like it. And I had it before him. I had it our whole relationship. He told me he didn't like it. He just didn't like the dress. I'm like, it doesn't look good on me. He goes, no, it's not that. I don't like it. And I said, okay, I'm keeping it, but I won't wear it on a date.
Right.
Why would I wear a dress that he doesn't like on a date? That'd be
Mhm.
stupid. But I still have the dress. And whenever I put it on, I laugh and I say, Ted, I like this dress still. And I'm sure he's like, oh, I don't. It's okay that we had different viewpoints on things. But if
Mhm.
I'm wanting to please you, and when I asked my husband that, I was.
Right.
But if he said, I really like you with natural, okay, but I'm not going to the office natural. I'm not doing a podcast natural. I'm going to
Right.
put makeup on. So
Right.
there's the place of being strong enough within yourself to ask, well, how could I please you in this just for this moment?
Right. Oh, I love that. I love that. Okay. We can talk for so long. I want us to get to some really concrete actions. And I think that we've talked about a lot of different things, but I want to wrap this up for our listeners. And we had talked about some actions before this episode, and I want to make sure that we talk about them because I think they are such great actions for our listeners to consider with their significant other. So the first one that you had mentioned was creating like a couple's mission statement or vision. Can you go into that a little bit more?
Absolutely. So you both come into the relationship for a myriad of reasons. And that's the beauty of kind of like the kaleidoscope of your relationship. But couples oftentimes don't think about who are we to be as a couple? How do we want to stand out in the world? How do we want to express ourselves and what's important to us? And so when I work with couples, it's one of the things that I strongly suggest. Write down what are 10 things that are really important for you as a couple, not just as an individual. And then make certain that you have cohesion in that. And then how do you bring that into being? For Ted and I, we wrote it out. And then the place that was really wonderful is when one of us was not living up to who we were to be, instead of poking at each other or prodding at each other, I just say, this doesn't serve our vision.
Yes.
There we go. It's not a good choice. And so we'd be like, you're right. It doesn't, whether it was my thinking or his thinking. And if it didn't honor our vision, it really wasn't a wise thing to do. And so it allows you to hold each other accountable, but accountable for the bigger picture. And once again, then you move into an intentionality of your relationship. Who
Mhm.
are we? How do we show up in the world? What's the impact that we're wanting to have? And how are we working toward cultivating that? And then that jumps
Yes.
right into the second thing that we said is, okay, so you create your mission statement, you write it down. This is who we are. This is how we want to be. This is the impact we want to have. This is where we're going to focus our time. And then you need to put it into some action steps. So this year, what are we focusing on to draw us a little closer? In 3 years, in 5 years. And then you want to hold on to that and then look back maybe once a month and say, like, how are we moving in that? Life, it might not stay. It might happen in 3, it might happen in 4. You might have something that happens that changes it completely. But there's that place of, are we moving together as a team?
Mhm.
And that's a place in relationships that can get off, especially if one person has a time committed job or just a very influential job. I have somebody who's in politics. And so there's a lot about what the spouse can or can't do because of the role that this person plays
Right.
and how they are to show up in the world and what's said and what's posted. And so there's a thought process behind everything. Now,
Mhm.
most of us don't live that life, I think, fortunately, because that would be really hard. But there's the place of, are we moving in the right direction for where we're wanting to go? That'll also help you catch yourself in some habits that you're picking up that are detrimental. Drinking too
Yes.
much, gambling too much, not working out, watching maybe too much football, working too much, whatever it might be. It keeps you a little bit more accountable to, are we really moving in a good direction?
Right. Okay. I love this because my husband and I have done some of this work. So I'm like, yes, we are doing the actions already.
There you
So
go.
yes, so we've done some of the mission vision work, and then we get together at the beginning of each year and we talk about the year, and then we also look, a couple years out. What do we want to do? What do we want to accomplish? And that includes everything from personally, as a couple, as a family. We look at trips that we want to take. We look at things that have to be done around the house, schedule changes that we want to make, and all these different things. And we really map that out as much as we can. And then we actually do a weekly meeting. And I recommend this to all of my clients as well. I'm like, do a weekly meeting with your spouse or your significant other to, if nothing else, just talk about your schedules for the week. And
100%.
then as you get more comfortable, add other things. So we talk about our schedules for the week, we align everything. We homeschool. So we talk about homeschooling,
I
what the
did
goals
too.
are. Like, yeah, and we align with who's responsible for what this week. Because if I have a really heavy week with clients or projects, he knows going into the week that he's going to have to step up a little bit more. And again, that open communication allows him to do that without resentment and allows me to do that without feeling guilty. And it's such a game changer to our communication and relationship. So highly recommend all of these things.
Yes.
And then the last one I want to make sure that we talk about, which is you talked about taking 5 minutes to speak together focused on foundational love. Can you go into that a little bit deeper? Because I think this is such a great idea.
So I call it the position, and it truly is, I'm gonna get a little emotional. It's the aspect of my marriage that I miss the most with Ted being passed over. Um, so we would lay on the bed in each other's arms for 5 minutes every day, and it was just beautiful connecting. Man and woman, husband and wife. We didn't talk about the business, we didn't talk about the dog, we didn't talk about the kids. It was, "Oh, it feels so good to be home with you.
Mm.
I've missed you. I love you so much." And we would just do that, or we would say nothing and just look into each other's eyes and melt. And the thing that was beautiful about it is when we were frustrated with each other or angry with each other, we would still do it. We wouldn't get to that beautiful melting place, but we always got a little better than where we had been because we knew we were trying and wanting to connect. And with our kids, if we had a little bit of a tense night, my daughter would say, "Do you need to go do that thing that you do in your room?" And my husband would always say, like, "Is this sick?" I'm like, "No, this is beautiful." Because if we did it when he first came home, which we tried to do, he'd welcome the kids. I'd put dinner on hold if I was making dinner. And then we'd have just 5 minutes in the bedroom. Because we had connected, because we were close, when we'd go out to dinner, he'd say, "Hey, baby, would you pass the salt?" And I'd be like, "Of course I will." So the night would be in like a goo land because we were connected, which is the whole reason we got married. It was the
Right.
whole reason we fell in love was because we connected. That's what falling in love is. But we decide all of a sudden we should just like do life and forget that part. And if he
Right.
didn't do it, we still had a great relationship, but he'd be like, "Honey, would you pass the salt?" And be like, "Yeah, of course." Different energetically. So
Right.
the key, in my opinion, to relationship is connection.
Mm.
And we say it's communication. Connection is what leads to beautiful communication
Mm.
because connection says, "You are important to me. We are important." Not so much, "Did you pick up the dry cleaning?" or "How are we going to pay this bill?" All the issues of life are important. But what I tell clients all the time is there's no issue that is more important than your relationship. And the health of your relationship is what will help you walk through any issue. We do it backwards. We do it
Mm.
backwards. We talk about it and we think in talking about it, we're going to feel close. And I'm like, "Oh, let's not. Let's get close and then let's talk." One thing I wished I had known, when I am in another relationship, I'm going to do it. I do it with my kids if they're home. I wish I had known when we were in a place of frustration to cuddle up together, especially if we
Mm.
were like in a place where we had to discuss something and do it like this. I think saying, "I'm really angry with you that you forgot to buy the milk" would be so different than like, "Tad, I can't believe you." So if you go back to connection, because we both want it, I'm more aware of I'm rejecting you right now if you're right in my face. And then I have to deal with my internal, like, I want to love you. I want to be loved. Why am I making the milk so important?
Right.
And it changes things tremendously. So, guys, you want so much. You want your career, you want your relationship, you want love, you want joy, you want happiness. Remember that the key to that is opening yourself to how do you connect with yourself? How do you connect with your partner? And then how do you walk through life as fluidly as you can, changing these things around as you need to honor where you're going. But it all comes down to how connected are you within yourself? And then how connected are you with those around you?
Well, I feel like that is the mic drop to wrap up this conversation. Dr. Browne, this has been amazing. I know that my audience is just gonna get so much out of it. I know I've got a lot out of it. I'm gonna have to go talk to my husband after this
Cuddle up, cuddle
Cuddle
up.
up. We've got some new things we've got to try. Now you do have a freebie for my audience. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. So I have there's a self-love PDF that I've come up with that I think is really, really helpful. And so I have that for you guys. Also, anybody who has any interest in connecting with me further, you can go to my website. It's www.drheatherbrowne.com. Dr. Heather Browne, I'm sure it'll be in the show notes. And I've got a newsletter I'd be happy to sign you guys up with tips and techniques on communication, work, relationships, self-love, self-care, all of that. I have workshops that I offer. I'm all over social media. So if I can help people out with coaching, whatever it is that you need or you have questions, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help out. But I hope you like the PDF. I had fun making it for you guys. And self-care, self-love is an important thing.
Yes, I love that. Thank you so much. And the links for all of this and all the social media places that you can connect with Dr. Browne will be in the blog post and the show notes for this episode. Once again, thank you so much. I so enjoyed this conversation and I appreciate you taking the time to be here today.
Oh, it was a blast. Thank you so much for having me.